Hi guys, we are
Trent
and Carmen Post. Welcome to Undone. We are in February and we are going to release a new series this month. What is this episode called?
Kid Talk.
Kid Talk. The reason we entitled that is this whole month of February, we are going to be talking about things that we believe are important for you guys as parents to talk to your kids about. Before we get started, we want to tell you that you may disagree with some of the things we're saying, and that is perfectly fine.
Everybody has their own style.
We can still be friends.
Yes.
You know, society and social media, they make us think that if someone says something that we're not doing or we disagree with, that we're enemies. But we want to give you the freedom to know that we can still be friends. If we say something you don't disagree with, it is totally okay. We trust that you, as your child's parents, know what is best for them. So we are not professionals in any way, as we tell you every single episode, but we are parents. We have a 17-year-old daughter, we have a 13-year-old son, and we have a 6-year-old son. We've actually fostered over 15 kids in the past 8.5 years, and so we have a little bit of experience in this parenting.
Like
it was a whole lot. And guess what? With that whole lot, we made a lot of mistakes.
Yes.
Parenting is hard, and we'll try things. It doesn't work. What works for one kid may not work for another kid. So as we're just sharing some things that are on our heart, just have grace with us if we say something that you get offended by, because we're not here to offend you. We want to empower parents, you guys, with the tools to be able to have open conversations with our kids. So Mark Twain has a saying, and it says, if you always tell the truth, you'll never have to remember anything. And so we believe that true in our parenting style. How many parents are watching this that maybe you find yourself where you have told a lie, and then another lie, and then another lie, and these are just little itty-bitty lies, right? But they have turned into situations at our home and in our family that have created distrust between us and our kids. And so our hope is that you guys will just be empowered to break those chains, break that bondage, so that your families can be the best that they can be.
Yeah, I mean, one of the places we can start at that we feel like is a really important part is being truthful with our lives, with our stories.
Yeah.
And the series about sexual abuse, we started with sharing some of our stories and what we've been through with you guys, and we share that with our kids. We try to be honest with the things that we've been through. I mean, we don't have to get into every single nitty-gritty detail, but you know, we want to share those because we want them to know about real life.
Yeah.
We don't want to act like there's not problems in life, there's not challenges in life. And what we do is we take those moments, because they taught us our mistakes from our story, and we want to teach them what we learned from those mistakes, what we learned from those relationships or those stories in our lives. And so we feel like it's really important that you share your own life, your own mistakes. I know we talked with a lot of parents who want to try to, oh no, I would never talk to them about that.
Yeah, we've got our secrets. They
and
cannot
we've got
know
our secrets,
that mommy did that. They cannot know that daddy did that.
Yeah, and so once again, yeah, Dad did that, but here's what I learned from it, and here's why I really encourage you that you shouldn't do that because, you know, this, and that. It had multiple consequences as I matured and learned, saw the value from that mistake.
And I think too, it's important age-appropriate stuff. So think about yourself and where you were at during your kid's age. You know, like if you have an elementary child student, you're going to talk to them about the things that you experienced in elementary. Maybe it's like stealing a pack of markers or something. Isn't that a story that you tell our kids?
Grand theft markers at 9 years old.
Grand theft markers at 9 years old. Or like if you're in middle school, you know that they are going to start talking about sex. You know that they're going to start talking about breasts and vaginas and penises. And so it's really important for us to remember where we came from, what we were going through, so that we can share it with our kids so they know they're not alone and they can be empowered to be the best little elementary school, middle schooler, high school, or college kid that they can be, because they know that someone has gone before them first and they're better prepared for the realness of the world.
Yeah, and two, I mean, especially having Kiki and adopting her, one of the things with her was always important was to share her story with her, and so that she knows who she is. And I know with your story in your life, I mean, that was a big area of that created distrust in you and with your family. And
So I think a lot of times as parents, we have these little lies that we're telling to protect our kids, right? And what happens when kids find out that they've been lied to, there's this whole distrust thing that happens, and it happened with me with my adoption story. So if you know my story, you know that my biological dad was extremely violent to my mom, and he told my mom that she could not tell me that I was adopted, and so she didn't, out of fear. I grew up in a very abusive home. He abused me, he abused my mom, and so you did what he said because you never knew what he was going to do. And so it was all to protect me from knowing that I was adopted. But what happened is I found out from a little girl down the street that I was adopted. And so at 8 years old, I began not to trust people that were put in charge of me because I had been lied to. The ones who had loved me the most had lied to me about a small little thing, really a big thing with adoption. And so I started running away from home because I felt like I couldn't trust those that were put in place to protect me and be truthful with me. I started using drugs, started turning to sex, and just things like that to fulfill the emptiness that being lied to leaves in each one of our lives. But what I've done is use that to empower my daughter with her story. And before she could even speak English, we're telling her that she was born on the streets. We're telling her all of her story that may be scary to some, but guess what? Our daughter knows exactly where she comes from. She knows her story, and she's been empowered in that.
yeah, and I know that'll definitely be a future episode on adoption, because you got a lot of experience there too. And Kiki just did a big research and report on the cross-racial adoption and things there. So I'm sure that'll be a future topic that we dive into. But yeah, those little lies that you're talking about, where we just try to protect our kids, and we do them all the time, whether it's a play date with kids and saying, oh, it's going to happen one day, it'll happen, or they're asking us for something, and we say, oh, you'll get it, just be patient, and we never get it for them, or we
never
make these
intend to
promises
get it for them. Yeah.
to take them somewhere, to do something, and we never do it. And so that, those are the little lies, and starts to trust. It's a trust issue that we're saying we're going to do something, and then we didn't do it.
And even like just the little play date thing. So, like play dates are really big. And so there's always asking me to go on play dates. And so instead of me saying, yes, buddy, we're going to do it, I just say, buddy, we don't do play dates right now. This is how our family is. If mommy and daddy are there, yes, but we just don't do play dates. And so I'm being open and honest with him, and he knows that I'll let him know when it's appropriate to go and to play with his friends without mommy and daddy.
Yeah, and as they get older, we tell them, well, you couldn't do play dates back then because of this. These things happen and can happen when you're there, and then you give them some depth for their future.
Yeah.
Let's stay on that little lie thing.
Mm-hmm.
Now this one could maybe be a sensitive area for people. It's the whole Santa, Easter Bunny thing, and so when I grew up, we did Santa. We celebrated it. Hey, it was fun and everything. But as I grew and also gave my life to Christ, and when we were married and having kids, I talked about how I didn't want to do Santa. I wanted to be focused on Jesus, on the birth of Jesus.
I remember when Trent told me, this was before we had kids, and I remember when he told me we weren't going to be doing Santa, I was devastated. I had so many amazing childhood memories and all of this about Santa, and I was like, how can we not do Santa? It was like a borderline of, are we going to be able to stay married or not? It was like, I can't not do Santa.
Yeah, but it's not being Nazi Christian, or like what do they call it nowadays?
Hyper-religious or something like that?
It's not based out of that. It was based out of at the heart of it, we're trying to have fun, I understand that, but if we really look at the heart of it, we're lying to our kids saying this guy is coming to our house, blah, blah, blah.
He's coming down the chimney.
And so we think of it as fun, but once they find out, they go, well, man, they were lying to me.
What else have they lied to me about?
What else have they lied to me about? And so it's just a matter of we wanted it to be, because those two, they fall on our biggest belief system.
Yeah, Easter
of
and
Jesus
Christmas.
being born, coming into this earth, God in flesh, and then Easter, death on the cross, and then resurrection on Sunday, which gives us life and eternal life. And so we wanted it to be focused on that and not distract. But when they came home asking about Santa or what is this or the movies, is he real? And we just go, well, what do you think?
Yeah.
Trying to really empower them to think deeper. We didn't go, oh, no, he's not real. Don't believe in him. We're not celebrating him. And also, when they came to understand it, we told them, now don't go to school telling kids he's not real. Because we protect that value and what they believe. And so going into belief, you may not even believe in God. That's fine. Maybe what we're just saying is that as if you're celebrating Santa, celebrating Easter Bunny and all those things, these fictional characters, maybe just think of a way that you could present it in a more honest way.
Yeah.
So that they're not saying, what, they lied to me. What else are they lying about?
And I think too, for those that are new parents, I just want to let you know, like, you have the option to do whatever you want to do. You don't have to do things the way they were done in your family. And if you choose to do Santa or choose not to, you can. Because I know there's some friends that grew up with no Santa and they do Santa. And I want to tell you guys, like, Theory still has such a magical joy within him about Christmas. And he actually believes that Santa's real, and we don't do presents from Santa or anything like that. And so I feel like there is this whole level of honesty that flows where the magic can still be there, can still be present. And again, if you do Santa, it is not a big deal. We're not like saying that you shouldn't. Maybe just for the new parents, because most of us, we've already done Santa, right? Like, we're done with it. And for the new parents, like, you just have an option about the way that you're going to display it in your home to stay away from that little lie.
Yeah, and I'm sure we'll have a month on marriage. We've learned a lot there. But into that new
almost
parents,
19 years.
A little nugget in there, guys. Just sit down and decide on these things and make a decision as a family. Because like she just said, come from different backgrounds, different celebrations, different everything. But now you're a unit. You're a family.
Yep.
And you need to make those decisions together so it doesn't cause division amongst you.
Yep.
And if you're just stuck on divided, maybe try to find a way to celebrate it both ways.
Yeah.
So anyways, marriage will be coming. I'm sure about that. Let's talk about how kids know when they know we're lying.
Kids are
not
brilliant.
dumb,
They're smart.
right?
They know when mommy and daddy are lying. They
Yeah.
know it.
I mean, you might get away with it when they're 3, 7.
They know it then too.
I mean, yeah, they know it because they pick up on it. Like, this isn't happening. You're telling me
It's
we're going.
their life too.
Yeah, actually, Theory's 6. She'll say, "You're telling me we're going to do this," and then it doesn't happen. So it's like, okay, yeah. So they're picking up on it, especially when they get to be teenagers and older. I mean, they're not dumb. They're sharp. They're picking up on it. I know when I was a kid and a teenager, I mean, some of the homes that I would go to, parents would try to hide and do their drugs in the bedroom. We weren't dumb. We knew what they were doing, and especially when they'd leave, we'd try to go in there and find their drugs so we could do them. So that's part of my story. So anyways, but also let's talk about how this is another big area I see in marriages and parenting is when we fight.
Yeah.
When we get in these arguments and then we try to do it behind closed doors and then act like it didn't happen. I mean, I know we have friends that have said, yeah, I never saw them fight. Never.
Never saw my parents fight. Yes. That's what we have friends that say that. They've never seen their parents fight.
Exactly. So they
live in a bubble.
We know that. So then now they struggle with conflict in their marriage. And so one of the things we try to do is be honest in that area, right? It's like, hey, mommy and daddy have fights. But guess what? We're not getting divorced. We're okay. I mean,
speaking of fights, I believe that we had one of our biggest fights this past summer, huh?
What fight?
We had a fight. Come on, be honest. Tell the truth. We're talking about being truthful here.
Yeah, that was probably one of our worst fights as a married couple, or even being together. I mean, it was heated. I mean, of course, we've yelled at times before. It's not a common thing. The voice is raised. Excuse me. But this one was pretty heated. And this is where I really lost my temper, which I somewhat keep my cool nowadays and haven't been that angry since I suffered with anger issues. Yeah. But this was, I mean, it doesn't matter what it was about. We were just into it. And Kiki came downstairs, our 17-year-old, and she's like, guys, I mean, the look on her face, and I yelled at her, go back upstairs, and she still tried to say something. I yelled at her again, so she went. And we just kept at it. And then
Gavin came
slept
down
on the couch. It was one of those.
Gavin came down at night to brush his teeth. And mommy's in the bed and daddy's on the couch. And Gavin just had this like really scary look. And he's like, where's daddy? Is everything okay? And I was like, buddy, it's fine. Everything's okay. I was like, daddy's sleeping on the couch. Mommy's sleeping in here. We just need some space tonight.
Yeah. And so we woke up in the morning. And then me and her reconciled first and talked about it and talked it out.
And cried it out.
I didn't cry. She cried.
He's lying. We're supposed to be telling the truth.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. And forgive me. I'm sorry. I just lied. And so, we talked it out. And we brought the kids down. And we said, hey, we know you heard us fighting. We had a fight. I think we gave them maybe the basic of the idea what the fight was about, not the details. And but the thing was, we told them, mommies and daddies fight. but we are not getting divorced. We love each other. We love you. I had to apologize to the kids for the fight, but also to Kiki. I yelled directly at her, hey, Dad makes mistakes. We do. This is life. But it shows them this is real. This is real life. Not only in marriage, not only in families, it's going to be in your workplace. It's going to be in university when Kiki goes off in a few years. She's going to have conflict. It's all over the place. And we got to show them that, and also preparing them for their future marriage.
Yeah.
There's going to be fights, and you'll get through it.
Yeah, it was such a sweet moment. Like it was such a sweet moment for us as parents to sit down with our kids and to confess our sin and to be just in a place of humbleness when we're like, we were wrong. What mommy did to daddy did to mommy, like we were wrong. But here's what we want you guys to know. We want you guys to know that we love each other, and this is going to happen with you guys. You and your husband, you and your wife, Gavin, are going to get into a fight. You're going to get into your first big fight, your second fight, and then you are going to need to resolve it like this. And so I think it's super important for our kids to see our flaws and for us to be truthful in our flaws, because that's going to empower them to be free of the guilt, to be free of the shame, and really just prepare them for real life, like you were talking about.
I agree, and you called it a sweet moment, and it was, but it wasn't easy. It's not easy to do this as a parent.
Easy.
It's not easy as a dad.
No.
To say, guys, I made a mistake, and own that mistake. It was sweet, but it takes work. It takes you being intentional to actually do that, and but the kids recognize it, and I think it really gives them value. It gives them depth.
Yes.
For their future.
And it gives them that foundation. Like, we are their foundation in their family. Mommy and daddy are the foundation. And so it empowered us being truthful with them. It made them stable. Instead of them wondering, oh my gosh, mommy and daddy are going to get divorced. There could have been so many things that were going on their head. Instead, we just stopped it right there. And so I think it's really important for us to as parents, to be truthful with our kids, because what happens when we lie to our kids is we're displaying to our kids that it's okay to lie, and then we're creating this character, something in their character, which they're going to start lying as well. So what we're doing, we're displaying to our kids that it's okay to do as well. And so maybe they start doing little lies with their friends, and they do little lies with their teachers, and then all of a sudden they're just liars. Yeah. Because of a small little lies that we created within our families. And so I believe us telling our kids the truth about everything is going to empower them just to be truthful people in their marriage, in their relationships, in their workplace, and just out in the world around them.
Yeah, and so, I think it's important, just some takeaways from today is that, we're just honest with our kids, and that we share our stories, and try to be careful of those little lies, because they just come out of us so easy.
Well, and I think too, the little lies, often we're telling these little lies because we believe we're protecting our kids. But what we have to know is that God can protect our kids in our messiness. God can protect them. We don't have to protect them and shelter them from the realness that is going on. So we had a situation in our home, and I want to share this with you guys because I think it's a big part of being truthful with our kids and creating environments where we can have conversation with them. And so we talked about it in the last series, creating just environments where kids can communicate, where kids can come and talk to you and tell you things. So we had a couple week time frame where all three of our kids came to us at different stages and were confessing their sin. These are really deep, dark things that they have kept hidden. One for 4 years, one for a couple years, and one was since the beginning of school. And all three of them sat down with us in fear, almost paralyzed by it. You could just see this, they were so scared to tell us the truth about what was going on with them that we didn't even know was going on with them. But because of us being truthful with them and creating environments where we talk about everything and they trust us that they're not going to get in trouble when they tell us certain things, our kids told us some really awful things. It was heavy things. Yeah. I mean, when a couple of them, after we got done talking, Trent and I, we were just crying. Because, we want to protect our kids from the world. We want to protect our kids from everything. We don't want them to get hurt. We don't want them to get hurt. But the reality is things are going to happen to our kids. And so as we're crying and, we're just in this state of silence because we don't even know what to say to what our kids had just told us, all we could do was turn that into a praise. Like we just began to praise God and thank Him that we had created environments for our kids to know that we were a safe place and they could come and they could talk to us about absolutely anything. And in those moments of them confessing and talking about things that had happened, our kids were set free, guys. Like one of our kids had been carrying some awful stuff for 4 years and another kid some awful stuff for 2 years, guys. And our kids were set free because they were able to tell the truth and they were able to let it go and drop it on mommy and daddy's lap so that they could be free.
Yeah, free. And this sets them up for future, I mean, just healthy conversation, right? When they make a mistake in life, because once again, we're going to make them.
Yeah.
And they're going to make them at school, they're going to make them on their job, they're going to make them in their marriage. And it's building in them, I think, these little things that we're doing as parents, showing them, because we are their example, their number one example. They look up to us so much as they're number ones. And so we're building this foundation where they can have these type of conversations, not only in the home, but in the future, which we know communication is so important in every relationship in life.
Yeah.
And so, creating that environment and those foundations for our kids is so important.
It is. And so thank you guys for tuning in with us today. Today was all about just being truthful with our kids, being honest, telling them the truth. They can handle it, trusting that God can carry them when you can't. Our next episode that's going to come next week, we're going to talk about some pretty uncomfortable stuff. S-E-X. And we're going to talk about talking to our kids about masturbation. We're going to talk about just attracted to the same sex, just like all of these things that we feel it's super, super important for us as parents to talk to our kids about at age appropriate times. So tune in with us next week.
We did it. We went through it, and we want to help give you some of our experiences and some tools that we use to help us through that process. So, hey, check in, and we're here for you.
Yes.
You're not in it alone. We're trying to do this together and be a blessing and an encouragement to you.
We'd love to stay connected with you guys. Go to carmenpost.com. Shoot us your email so you can get on our newsletter and just hear about everything that we have going on. We hope this has been an encouragement to you.
Your friends.
Share with your friends. Yes, share on your social medias.
Podcast Undone.
The videos.
On Spotify.
Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, all that stuff.
Guys, until next time.
Ciao.